Strange voice. All right. Well, welcome back. Virginia Free interviews the candidates in the primaries. It's my privilege to introduce to you Justin Fairfax from, I'm going to say Fairfax County.
You're exactly right, Chris. Yes.
You got your
Good
own
guess.
county. Congratulations. If you win the election, it'd be Justin, Virginia.
I won't propose that, but
But you won't stop it either. Okay. Justin, introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for lieutenant governor.
Yes. Well, Chris, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, and I want to thank Virginia Free, which has been a tremendously, helpful organization here in the Commonwealth of Virginia to bringing people together, to focusing on the challenges that we face, and making sure that our economy is strong, that people have opportunity, particularly economic opportunity, that businesses can thrive. That no matter where someone starts, they can end up in a great place here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I want to thank you for that work. I've been proud to come to the Virginia Free events for a number of years now, and I learn something great and new every single time. So I'm running, as you noted, for lieutenant governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia in the June 13th Democratic primary, primarily because I want to make sure that more people get the same shot at the American dream that I got and that my family got. You're familiar with my story. But I was raised in inner city Washington D.C. Primarily by my mom. I have a great dad, but my mom had to move myself and my three siblings in with my late maternal grandparents when my parents got divorced, and it was a tough time. Mid 1980s, D.C. was being beset by gangs, guns, drugs, and violence. But the great part about that story is that because of what our family did for us, and a village and a community gave us opportunities, a high quality education, economic opportunities. My mom was able to purchase the home right across the street from my grandparents, where she still lives today, and was able to put all four of her children through college and two of us through law school. And so that story, frankly, is the American story, and so many people share in it. And I want to make sure that that's possible for more people. I say that what people did for us to make that happen was that they gave us spiritual wealth. We didn't have a lot of money, but they gave us hope, optimism, a high quality education, and said no matter how dark today may seem, tomorrow can be brighter. And when people give you that kind of spiritual wealth in your life, I believe that you then have a spiritual debt that you must repay. And that for me is what public service is all about, making sure more folks can send their own kids to college affordably, not take out crushing student loan debt. More people can get access to capital to buy a home, start a small business. My wife, Dr. Sarita Fairfax, and I are small business owners. We bought a family dental practice about 10 years ago in Fairfax County, of all places, and she has done phenomenally well as a dentist and a small business owner. I myself am a practicing attorney at Venable, a law firm, and we have gotten to travel this incredible journey and live the American dream. And I said we all have different versions of that same story, common challenges, but the opportunities also should be common. And that really is the passion of my life. And that's why we announced in May of 2016 that we'd be running for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia.
Well, that's great, and it's a heck of a story. And let's just
Thank
dive
you.
right into K-12, since you brought it up as was sort of
Yes.
the framework by which you were able to become successful to get into higher education. Let's talk about K-12 and
Right.
what made it possible in that setting. That, I mean, you described fairly
Right.
dire circumstances. Statistically, they'd
Yeah.
be very, very dire. What made it possible? What
Yes.
was the difference for you that a lot of kids don't get to realize?
Yeah, well, Chris, I mean, you hit one of the key points, which is education. You have to make sure that people have access to a high quality education. My siblings and I, had that access, and frankly, my family, we've had people who've gone to private schools, gone to public schools. You had the mixture, but in every case, it was a high quality education that we were able to receive. We had teachers who demanded a lot of us, and wouldn't let us get by, with just doing the minimum. We had family members and a community who said, again, we want you to set your sights very high, and they provided us with the opportunity to do that. So we got preparation, we got advanced classes, we were given a safe environment in which to learn, and these are all things that I believe every single child in Virginia is owed. We have to give young people an environment again that's safe, where they can have materials that are reflective of the learning that's going on globally. We're now in a global economy. We're not just competing against the school district up the street or even the state next door. We're competing with a global workforce, and we've got to educate our young people with that in mind. We have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old son and daughter, and my wife got them a number of different gifts over the holidays, but the one that they took most to, that they play with the most, is actually a tool that helps them learn how to code. So on their iPad,
Wow.
they're 7 and 5, and I don't even know how to code. So so they are ahead of me. I'm glad I don't have to compete.
We had a hard enough time getting this interview hooked up.
Yeah, if they were relying on us, we'd be in trouble. But the technical skills that these kids have to have are just incredible, and we can do that, Chris. And again, you have been a great leader and proponent of this. We need more what they call STEAM H related training, and that's science, technology, engineering, the arts, math, and healthcare. Those are where the jobs of the future are going to exist, and where the growth is in our economy. And I just would button this up with a great quote that's been attributed to Wayne Gretzky, as we know, is probably the greatest hockey player of all time. And he had this wonderful quote, and they asked him how he got to be so good, and he said that the really good hockey players skate to where the puck is, but the great hockey players skate to where the puck is going to be. And I think that's how we've got to think about it in terms of education, technical skills. Let's think about the jobs 5, 10, 20 years down the road and prepare our children now for those jobs.
And that's a fairly difficult proposition because we don't know where the economy is going to be. 5 years ago, who would have thought about coding as an opportunity for kids? It's changed so much, even in the time between when you and I were in college,
right,
to today. And how do we? I think oftentimes we can be too specific with some of the technologies and saying, oh, go do X, Y, and Z, and not be there. So let's talk about higher education and what we can do to prepare Virginia's, which was just ranked as #1 in the country, which puts us #1 in the world for higher education, which is a great.
Great higher education system,
unfortunately, you went to Duke, so
I thought we were going to leave that out of this interview.
No.
Not at all, right? And you
no. Look, we appreciate you losing to South Carolina, my son's school.
But please have some pity on us, right? We
never.
Love it.
You've earned our scorn. You've earned our scorn. So let's talk about higher education and what we can do to make it more affordable, more accessible, so that the people who came from circumstances can look at it as an opportunity and not a distant dream.
That's right. And Chris, this is one of the challenges of our time. And I believe, both higher education, but also vocational and technical training have to be made more affordable and more accessible to people. Let's first talk about higher education. Costs, as we know, have outpaced inflation now for decades. We have got to find a way to start to control the cost that we are charging to young people and their families to make it more affordable. We also have a big idea, Chris, which you've probably heard me talk about, which is to allow students, young people, and their families to refinance their high interest student loan debt through a newly created state refinancing authority, which would allow them to take their, on average, $30,000 worth of student loan debt, which is now at an average interest rate of 8%, is what young people face, right? So it's effectively become a credit card. And so we allow them to refinance that debt at market rates, which are, closer to about 2.5%, 3%. And that would allow these young people to go from paying, many, many hundreds of dollars, per month to something much more manageable, maybe saving $300, $400, $500, $600 a month. And that then frees them up to do so much more. They can start to, save to buy a house 5 years sooner. They can start to fund their retirement in their 20s and 30s. And we know the difference that it makes to start investing even at lower levels. If you're doing it a decade or two sooner, you end up in a much better place.